Okay, so here's the tree we're going to plant on clonal rootstock. We've got a good system, a nice spread of roots. We've got a couple of broken roots, so we could just prune those off, the broken ones, and straighten them out a little bit. But generally we want to keep as many of the roots as possible because they're going to get the tree started. So I'm going to dig a hole for the tree. We're lucky to have a good free training soil here, and we don't have any rocks or any pans underneath the soil, so the hole or the pit doesn't actually need to be very big in this case. So if you bear with me, I'll slowly dig the hole. I guess while I'm doing that I could explain what else we're going to do. So we've got some compost here and some superphosphate fertilizer. So we can take the opportunity to incorporate the superphosphate and the compost in the soil. So if there was a pan or rocks, we might dig a deeper hole and a wider one. But in this case, because we have a good silt loam soil with no obstructions, we don't actually have to dig a very big hole at all, because there's no real point in that. So I'm about a 60 centimetre diameter, and I'm going down probably only about 400 or 500 millimetres. I want to go slightly below the depth of the roots to make sure that the ground is friable and has been worked up. Okay, so in terms of fertiliser, we can add a superphosphate type fertiliser because phosphate is good for the root development, and it's not very mobile in the soil, so we need to incorporate it. If we put too much, we can run the risk of burning the roots, or especially if it becomes dry, the moisture could be sucked out of the tree. So this is just 200 grams. We could go more than that, but we think this is a safe and conservative amount. In terms of compost, and this is a well broken down compost, we think that's a 20-litre bucket, so we don't want to have more than about 25% of the soil volume in compost. So we want to just incorporate that a bit to spread the fertiliser and mix up the compost and the soil. If this was old apple ground, and given that we can't sterilise, it would be great if we could bring new soil that had never had apple trees in it before and introduce that into the hole. And that would be ideal. If that's not possible, then at least the compost and the fertiliser will help. Also, if we've done a soil test and if the pH was very low, now would be an opportunity to incorporate some lime to lift the pH. So with the planting of the tree, the critical thing we're looking for is that the union is well above the ground. So just looking at that, we're more or less in the right category here. So we like to give the roots a bit of a shake to get plenty of soil around them, and then to press down the soil so it's nice and firm. One thing too is that we can face the union into a prevailing wind. So if the wind's coming this way, it's less likely to shear off at the union of the rootstock and the scion. So now I'm just going to finish the soil's going to sink a little bit, so we want to be slightly above the natural soil height. And finally we can just adjust the height, so I'm a little bit deep, but probably just okay. We really want to be about 3 or 4 inches but with the union above, so that's a bare minimum but just acceptable. And finally, in terms of pruning, we've done this before, but really all of these branches, to my way of thinking, are too low, and these are very steep. We don't want any branches below about 60 centimetres, so the best thing would be to remove them all with flush cuts, because we want our branches to develop in this zone. Okay, finished.